Hi everyone, I am about to be joined by Erin from My Beautiful Blunder. I've messed up the time slightly, so we're hopping on now, so apologies for that. And Erin is going to be sharing her journey. She does fantastic things in the community and talks a lot about infertility, all of the treatments that she had, the reduction that she had to have, and also parenting after infertility. So she's here now. And we can start. I've written for Fertility Help Hub before, so it's great to be doing a live with her. I'm looking forward to it, and welcome everyone who's joining. Should connect any second now, and obviously as we chat, feel free to speak. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. I was just apologising for my error with the time.
Oh no, it's fine. I mean, there's been days that I literally miss the entire day. So,
So hi, for those who don't know you, please could you just give a brief introduction to yourself? I have briefly done that, but it'd be great to hear from you.
yeah. So my name is Erin. I am trying to also figure out how to prop this so that okay. I live in California, so it's a much different time here right now than it is for you. But my infertility journey basically started when I was in 2010. My husband and I got married in 2009, and we wanted to start a family. And it basically started then. That's not really what you asked me.
No, that's great. I mean, we're going to talk about your journey. And before that, I was just saying that you do a lot around infertility, fertility treatments, and also parenting after infertility as well, which is obviously such a big thing too.
Yes.
So please do start by telling everyone what's basically happened over the last decade.
Okay. Sorry. Basically, my name's Erin. I live in California. I have 3 daughters, a dog, and just trying to navigate through the pandemic like everyone else. That's me in a nutshell. But so I started in 2010. We were trying to get pregnant naturally, like most people start off, and I wasn't getting a period, so I started just taking a million tests because I thought I was pregnant, and I didn't understand why I wasn't getting a period. So I'd pee on like, I don't know, 3 boxes worth like in a day because I was thinking I was doing it wrong. And finally I went to the doctor and she said, you don't ovulate on your own, so you're going to need help ovulating basically. So I was 26 at the time, and we went into the fertility clinic that she recommended. And the doctors there just suggested that we do an IUI because I have a lot of follicles. I had a lot of follicles they could see. They just don't mature and release. So with the help of medication, Menopur, injections, we did our medicated IUI. And it actually worked on the first try. The only thing is that we did conceive triplets because, as I mentioned, I do have a lot of follicles from like the initial start. And unfortunately, we had to have a medical reduction because of my size, and the doctors just being worried that the triplets wouldn't survive and I would have very major health complications. So
it must have been an incredibly hard decision to make, and to hear that as well.
It was because also we were 26 and we didn't even think people that were our age needed fertility treatments or anything like that, because you're just naive and you don't even realize that, you think fertility treatments are for people over 40 and this and that. So then to need fertility treatments and then also have to have a reduction was just like, we didn't even know that was a thing. So we had to drive a couple hours north to Los Angeles to the clinic that did that. We did that, and then we just decided never to talk about it because I don't know, there's a lot of emotions. We were probably ashamed, embarrassed, we were really sad, we felt guilty. So all of those things just compiled into one big ball while trying to be pregnant and maintain a good attitude with the twin pregnancy was a lot. So thankfully my twins made it to 37.5 weeks. I was induced. I had them vaginally. They were really small, but fully developed. So one stayed in the NICU for about 11 days. And then the other one, we got to take home right away. So it's also a weird, like, feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm leaving a baby at the hospital while I get to take the other one home. That was guilt ridden. But in a way, it was also nice to adjust to a baby because, you get thrown this child all of a sudden and you're expected to know what to do with it, let alone two. So that was that. We basically stayed off of birth control and we weren't trying, but we weren't not trying, in other words.
So sorry, when your twins were how old did you decide, okay, we would like to have another child?
We never really decided like firmly until they were 6, because like I said, what we were doing is just not using a form of birth control because we knew that the chances were very low for us. But we thought, okay, within like their life, maybe this could happen, right? So we kept going. We tried, nothing was happening for about 6 years. We finally said, okay, well, now that they're 6 in kindergarten, like, let's really, really make this decision. Again, I still wasn't really getting my period naturally. So clearly the chances of me conceiving are very slim because of that. So we did go in and decide to do IVF. And a lot of questions I get is why I did IVF and not an IUI since it worked so well. And the reason being is we were just afraid of conceiving multiples again. So we went straight to IVF. We thought this is going to work. It's IVF. This is what people do to get a baby. And it didn't. So I'll make this kind of quick, but we did about 4 egg retrievals at 2 different clinics. We did 2 at the first clinic and 2 at the other. The first 3 retrievals, we only ended up with 1 normal embryo. And after each retrieval, I transferred. So I didn't like bank embryos because we knew we just wanted one. We wanted to just try to just get pregnant because, we were getting older. There was getting to be a bigger age gap between my kids and that future baby. And unfortunately, it took us 3 years to get a viable pregnancy. We ended up doing 7 transfers.
Wow.
Yeah. And
That's so much, isn't it? Like mentally and physically.
yeah, it was a lot. And we did miscarry in 2019. I was pregnant in January and we miscarried at 8 weeks. So that miscarriage also lasted a really long time. I ended up having to do a couple of those misoprostol pills to help miscarry. And unfortunately, they weren't even enough. I'm sitting there like bleeding out, basically trying to catch my tissue. They wanted me to bring the blood and the tissue that I caught back into the office. So I had to physically bring it in a bag.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And after all of that, I still needed to have a DNC 3 months later. So it was just a really long, like, drawn out process that in hindsight now I know kind of what I would do if I ever had another one.
I think one of the things that you wrote about when you wrote a blog for Fertility Help Hub, so thank you for that. That was last year.
Yeah.
And I think you've spoken about this on your platform before, was just like how hard it is also to be going through fertility treatment with your children because you felt guilty for the time that you were having to spend on treatment.
Yeah, it was a lot because I mean, I don't know if, most people that go through every IVF understand, and I don't think you really understand until you go through it, and I didn't understand, but I had to be at the clinic almost every single day, whether it was for, a checkup, an ultrasound, a blood draw, paperwork, whatever it was. I was there at least 3 times a week, if not more. Including weekends, and it just became a lot. Mentally, that's all I could think about, even though I had the twins at home, and I was just feeling so guilty. There were a lot of comments in my family, in some acquaintances and friends that really made that guilt feel even worse.
What kind of saying things like, why don't you stop now, and that kind of thing?
Like, enjoy the kids that you have, at least you have the twins, be thankful for what you have. And it's gut wrenching because it's like, how on earth do you think I'm not thankful for what I have just because I want to expand my family? You know, and unfortunately those comments are never made to people that are fertile. I mean, like you would never say that to somebody that has 3 kids and says, I want a fourth. And then you say, oh, exciting. Okay, good luck. I would never say, why don't you just stop where you are just because they don't have fertility treatments, you know? So that was hard and a hard pill to swallow because I also am the type of person that I do take all of that to heart. I need to work on that. I still have to work on, you know, not feeling guilty about things and not letting what other people think or say affect me. But it does affect me. And I think that was weighing really, really heavy on me and just causing me a lot of depression. So that was hard.
And did your twins understand that you were having fertility treatment?
So the first year we were doing it, we tried to hide it. And we ended up getting pregnant in 2018, December. And we ended up telling them that we were pregnant once we saw the heartbeat at 6 weeks. And they were really excited. They started crying because they actually had thought that something was wrong with me because I was going to the doctor so much. I just kept telling them, I have a doctor's appointment, I have a doctor's appointment. And they were actually really concerned, thinking there was something wrong with me, even though I tried to convey to them, like, everything's fine, I'm just getting a checkup. But, you know, when a kid goes to the doctor more than once a year, they assume it's because something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that moment, we realized, oh boy, we really didn't handle it well for our kids. You know, I mean, that's just our experience.
Yeah.
And, you know, we told them this is why I've been coming, like mommy's been doing treatments, but now we're pregnant. Unfortunately, we miscarried and we had to tell them that. And that was really, really, really hard because the way you explain a miscarriage to a 6-year-old, you know, how do you? In other words. So we just kind of had to say, you know, the baby in mommy's tummy died. They then repeated it to all their friends. So it was,
oh gosh,
you know,
that's gonna make your heart ache. You know, hearing it again. Even
yeah, it was hard because I don't think they quite. They probably didn't understand all the way, and unfortunately, I think it also forced them to mature much more quickly than they would have. But ever since then, we were a lot more open, and I said we are going to keep trying to have another baby. You know, we'll get there. We're going to do all these treatments, and then I brought them in to show them how I was administering my shots, and had them help me, like with passing me, you know, tissue if I was bleeding or this and that. And I never forced them to do anything. I just said, if you guys want, you can come watch, and they always wanted to. And so I slowly kind of brought them. The way we handle telling anything to them really is just by going off of their questions. So whatever questions they have, I try to answer to their level, but I try to be honest because I think ultimately they're going to figure it out because they're smart. But I never just feed them information. For example, they don't know that they were triplets.
right.
They haven't asked that. I don't know exactly how to bring that up. But they do ask me a lot, oh, you know, what does IVF stand for? What is, you know, did you have to do treatments with us? And so we have gone down that rabbit hole.
Right. Because
And
I had an experience literally a couple of days ago where, because of obviously what I do, and
yeah,
my oldest daughter, she's only just turned 4, but she's not fully understanding, but we're talking to her about donor conception, etc. She saw someone crying on TV, and I said, why do you think they're sad? And she said, because they can't have a baby. So I realized that obviously these conversations that we've been having, and her, you know, seeing what not seeing what I've been doing with Fertility Help Hub, but knows that when mommy's working and, you know, helping, well, not helping people have babies, but helping support people who can't maybe have babies. Maybe she's starting to already kind of realize that it's not easy for everyone. I don't know. So there's a balance, isn't there, between like not scaring them into thinking that it's going to be hard, but also not having that false sense of security that I definitely had when I was younger, of thinking that it happened straight away.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. We talk about that all the time, and I say, if you guys end up having issues, like I'll be here for you. You can always come to me, and we always talk about how a lot of kids are made the way that you were, and you might not know that because their parents might not be ready to tell them. So I try to also make them feel like they're not weird and the only ones, in their bubble or in their world, that were created the way that they were created.
Do
Um,
they have people talk about it at school?
you know, I don't know if they talk about it at school, because I think that because of this pandemic, they haven't been at school much.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They are still in that kind of borderline innocent phase where we talk to them about things and they talk about it if it's presented in front of them. But because I don't think any of their friends know about this, they never really talk about it. Which I think is fine. I think that as much as I wish all the kids would be educated, I think it's also something that, a parent needs to decide when and if that's something they ever want to talk to their kids about at the age of 9 years old.
Absolutely. And when you were having, I'm aware of time, but when you were having treatments and then you did get pregnant recently, and congratulations on your daughter, was that through an IVF round?
Yeah, so that was our very last normal embryo. I have one more that's mosaic, just kind of waiting there, and it's weighing heavy on me of what to do with it. Um, but yes, that was our last normal embryo from our fourth retrieval. And our fourth retrieval is when we actually got three normal PGS tested embryos. So it was the most we ever got, which is funny because I was the oldest out of all three,
Mm.
out of all four retrievals. Um, but it was the last embryo. And then we just said, okay, I was about to not do it because I was so exhausted. And my husband's like, we have these two, but definitely this one because it's normal. So let's just try again. And we did. And thankfully, here we are. But yeah, so it was a frozen embryo transfer.
And were you nervous early on in pregnancy or during your pregnancy about loss, like from
Oh, yeah.
hearing
Yeah.
other people's stories and, experiences?
Yeah, the entire time. I mean, basically, we found out we were pregnant last March 1st. And my husband had to go to Europe on what was now, we realize, his last business trip for a while.
Yeah.
And we were very thankful that we were pregnant because I was like, there's no way you're going to be able to leave. And I'm going to sit here crying by myself if it fails. But, honestly, the next day I started worrying. I mean, like I just posted about this because I remember our fire alarm, like it started beeping and he was out of town and it was really, really high up to where I had to stand on a chair and I had to kind of like hammer and it was making me anxious. And I was so nervous because I thought I was gonna miscarry just because of that. So like any little thing would make, and I called him crying and I was like, I feel like, this baby's gonna miscarry because now I'm stressed because of the fire alarm. And I don't know if I stood on my feet for too long or if I increased my heart rate because, like it's so many things that your mind
Yeah.
goes to over something so simple, like hammering out the batteries out of a what's called a fire alarm.
I ran in the rain after an embryo transfer because I was late for a hypnotherapy appointment to relax me, and that stressed me out a lot. I was just thinking it's not going to work because I just ran, and I got rained on. I thought that it wouldn't work because I got rained on.
Oh,
So it's
no.
so easy to spiral into that mindset, isn't it?
No, it is. And then unfortunately, because of the pandemic, Nick wasn't able to come to any appointment with me. So after all of that, he was never able to come to an ultrasound or anything, which made it really hard because the way we found out we miscarried a year before that was going into the clinic and them saying we don't see a heart beat anymore. So literally every appointment I would walk in expecting them to say that to me, and obviously that never happened, but it was just so hard because I kept thinking, well, what if they say that to me and I'm sitting here by myself?
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot. So
Yes. Was he there for the birth?
he was. So that
Yeah.
was great. able to be there for the birth. And we also found just a little tip. I don't know if they have these where you are, but here we found kind of like a standalone ultrasound clinic, and they're not affiliated with hospitals. They're kind of like a boutique shop, and they have ultrasound techs that are went to school to be an ultrasound tech, but you can go and make appointments on your own. So what I would do was I would go very frequently and make these appointments and just pay whatever the amount was, and Nick was actually able to go to those.
Well, that's good.
They did let him.
That's another thing, isn't it? The costs, well, especially over such a long period, they just spiral out of control, and you just get like all these points where you're like, I've thrown so much at it, I'm gonna have to invest in that and that, and it's so hard, isn't it, when you've got friends and family getting pregnant easily who don't have to go through any of that.
Right. Well, that's the thing too, is that like, you start thinking when you start IVF, like there's so many things to think about other than like, okay, let's do this to get pregnant. It's like, when can we start IVF? Because do we have the money saved up? Because at least for us, we had to pay everything up front. So for us, it was about $30,000 that we had to give up, for that one first round. And you don't know if you have to do multiple. We ended up, I think we've spent over $150,000 on just trying to have this baby. And we're lucky that we're able to do so. I know we're in a situation where I always thank my lucky stars that I'm able to, because I know there's so many people that can't, like, of course we use savings, and of course we couldn't do certain things because we were spending. But I know we're still in a very good situation to where we could have kept going. And I know there's so many women who would love to keep trying, and financially they just can't. And it's not fair. I mean, I know I always say this, people say life isn't fair, but this is different. Like being able to have a baby and reproduce, that shouldn't be that like fair thing.
Absolutely. I get a bit confused in America about what's covered by insurance and what's not. How does that work?
So it's all varies by state. I think it also varies by clinic. It varies by your employer. There's some employers that actually, I have a couple friends that say, oh, we have 2 IUIs that are covered by my employer. We don't have that. And I do know Massachusetts covers IVF and infertility treatments, but I don't think any other state fully does. And I could be 100% mistaken.
But people might get a bit covered and then have to pay the remainder or something like that.
Yeah. There's some things that are covered. Like for instance, for some reason, my insurance covered some of my progesterone and oil. They would cover 2 vials a month, which I needed
it doesn't even touch the sides.
But I mean, whatever I was able to do. But yeah, we in California, I know it's really hard, and I think most people have to pay out of pocket. It's hard, and it's just something that's not fair, because everybody should be able to have a baby, at least try if they want.
Well, that brings me to the last point. Thank you so much for being an ambassador over the last 8 weeks. That's all you do for my initiative, which is about to end, which is hopefully going to give 8 people the opportunity for free treatment around the world. So thank you for supporting that, and the link is in the bio if anyone wants to apply.
Yes.
Anyway, it's been so nice chatting to you, and thank you to those who have joined, and I hope you have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
We did have one comment from one lady who just said it's been really useful hearing us chat, because she's got a 9-year-old daughter. She's about to start IVF and wondering how to talk to her about it.
Okay, yeah. So I would probably just sit her down and explain to her that you want to have another baby. I would talk about IVF and kind of just say, mommy has to get medical help. I need medicine to help me have this baby. I'm still going to try and have it on my own, but it might take a little bit of time. Some women, some people need help by doctors to be able to have babies. And I always say, everybody needs a doctor to help them have a baby, because everybody will be going to the doctor at some point. I said, but, some people need a little more help in getting there. And then I would just kind of ask her if she has questions. Sometimes 9-year-olds just don't have any, and then they're fine with whatever you want to tell them. And some might just keep asking and asking and asking. And I think just going off of what she has questions on would be your best bet. And leaving it open, you know, so like as you go on, just say, hey, if you ever have any more questions, just ask me. Like, I want to be able to talk about this. I want you to see help.
And there are books, aren't there, that explain IVF like in simplistic terms. If
there are
you
books,
want help from something like that, just to guide her through it in a simple way.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
Cool.
and I think our kids are so smart and they're so resilient. And I think they know when they've had enough information. At least my, like, okay, mommy.
Yeah. Exactly. Where's lunch? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think you know your daughter best, and I don't think you can go wrong with talking to her about it based on what she's asking of you.
I think that's really good advice. Thank you, Erin.
Sure.
Well, thanks again for today and for those who have joined. Speak to you soon.
Okay, bye. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.